Hi y'all, I forgot to add something into that video. While you're on the range for the MSF course, you're going to be in line, one motorcycle behind the other, usually waiting your turn, and it's probably going to be hot, it's going to be exhausting, and you are going to be doing this all day long. And you're going to be sucking in the fumes from the motorcycle in front of you. And it's going to probably make you sick at your stomach. That's another thing to think about, to be prepared for. Is by the end of the second day, I had the taste of the fumes in my mouth. It's so bad. It was so awful. But that's something else to be prepared for, just to think about. Hi y'all, it's Kimberly here. Thank you for coming to my channel. Well, the last video I made was about me taking the MSF course, and I talked about my experience and also kind of like the preparation for signing up for it, and kind of a little bit of expectation and maybe some of the things that you might have to go through. But I wanted to expand on that because I watched a bunch of videos this morning on YouTube, and I watched about 10 of them about how I failed the MSF course. I took the course and I failed it. And I saw a lot of like disappointed people and discouraged people that, they were either going to not take it again because they were so discouraged, or either they were trying to prepare themselves to take it again. So I'm going to go a little bit more into depth about that, because I really had no preparation other than my own experience being a passenger for 50-something years on a motorcycle. And I gained most of my knowledge or ability to prepare myself for that just from that alone. I did mention I'd only tried to ride a dirt bike myself for like, I think it was less than a minute, and I went down twice, and my cousin, he's like, "Oh, get off," So that's the basic actual driving experience that I have on a motorcycle, other than being a passenger. But I saw a lot of these videos, and I was like, maybe if they had known something else, if they had prepared themselves, because there's a lot of things they mentioned that they had no idea. Oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know. And I did mention the weight on the other one, and the heat, and I think a couple of other things. But I'm going to talk about a few other things, maybe talk a little bit, or go a little bit more in depth about it. So I have like 2 pages of notes that I made of things that I thought about. And the heat, number one, I'm in Texas. It was really hot when I took the course. We started at 7 in the morning, tried to get as much of the cool weather in the morning. And my course was through Harley Davidson, and they were fantastic. Had a great instructor, and they kind of cater to women a lot, I think. They're really supportive, really great. And my course was 2.5 days. You take the e-course before you do that. I think I explained on the other video. And then you come in, from my experience, we took a half a day where we kind of talked a little bit in a conference room. We watched some videos. Then we took a written test. And that written test is actually part of the MSF course. You have to pass that. And then we had 2 days of riding experience on the range. And the riding experience, I think almost everybody can pass the written part of the test. And if you have difficulty with that, it's probably because you just don't know enough about motorcycles. And if you fail at that point, just immerse yourself in motorcycle information and really study any kind of information that they give you and retake the test. It's really not that hard. And so the actual riding the motorcycle, we had 2 days of that. The first day, We actually stopped about an hour and a half early, and a lot of that is going to be you're sitting on the motorcycle, they're giving you instruction, they're telling you how the course is. They have a course that's painted out with lines in a parking lot. You're going to drive through certain things, you're going to do stops, you're going to do starts, stops, you're going to do figure eights, turns, a turn from a complete stop, which to me that was probably the most difficult thing for me. And you're going to do shifting gears up to, we actually shifted gears from first to second gear. You really don't go very fast. But the first time you're driving a motorcycle, you don't need to go 70 miles an hour. You're going to crash. So they keep you at a low speed. And I actually went into third gear. Actually, he said on one part of the test, you're going to have to speed up to, honestly, I can't remember what it was, like 25 miles per hour, something like that. You're going to go from 0 to whatever for a extended length down the course, because they want to see you accelerate, that you can go through the gears and accelerate. But it was only in second gear. But he did tell us, if you want the option to click up to third, go ahead. If you feel comfortable, do that. And I did do it. And I'll tell you, the faster I was going, I felt like so much safer. When you're on a motorcycle and you're going faster, it actually pulls you up, and you're going, driving slow on a motorcycle is, when you can drop your motorcycle the most. And it gets wobbly. But if you're going a little bit faster, it pulls your motorcycle up and you can just continue on. So I wouldn't be scared of the acceleration. And for those who've never ridden, and most of what I'm talking about is going to be mainly for people who have never ridden a motorcycle. That's what this video is going to be about. And not to be so scared of, accelerating, going into second gear, because that you'll feel much more stable. And once you hit a higher speed, you can feel the motorcycle stabilize. So don't stress about that. Don't be scared. Don't worry about that. In most states, I think you have to take the MSF course now. A long time ago, you could just go to any DMV and take your test, take the written test, then take the driving test. But over the years, they have, a lot of people have never gotten their motorcycle license. I've met so many people that have never gotten their license. I've even been told by somebody, don't even do it. Just, you don't have to do it. It's not, they hassle you. It's too much big deal. And I'm having a little bit of a hassle because my appointment got canceled that I was supposed to do yesterday after I had to wait another week. That's a whole nother story. But I'm going to reschedule it. I have to reschedule online to do it next Friday. And I had to get a copy of my certified copy of my birth certificate to, to use. I had to use my license to go get the certified copy of my birth certificate, because they didn't want to just slap the M on there. But that's just something else. I don't know. But you should get your license, because if you get stopped, you can get your bike towed. You can get, tickets for no insurance, no license, no, it's a worse hassle to not have your license. Go ahead and get your license. And I've known people that have driven 20, 30 years with no license. They've never been stopped, but someday it's going to happen, or you can get in a wreck and get sued. And if you don't have a license, that gives them, more ammunition to sue you for, oh, well, you couldn't even pass the test or something, so get your license. And I think everybody should take the MSF course. Even, like, I had experienced people who'd been riding for years in the course with me, and they couldn't do the figure eights. There's one woman who was really good at it, and she'd been riding for a long time, and she was the best rider, and her figure eights were beautiful. So even if you think that you know everything, there's people that had been riding in there, and they're like, even I did better than on some of the things that some of the riders who'd been riding for years. So take that. A lot of people, if they don't have the skill to do it, they're just not gonna, they're gonna avoid that skill the whole time they're riding for, the life of their riding career. career, whatever you want to call it, the time that they ride. And there was a lot of important things in that course that I know could possibly save my life. And so take the course. And if you fail again, do it again. You know, take it over. Don't get discouraged. Correct what you did wrong, study it, and just take it over. And if you don't feel comfortable, if it's not for you, if you decide, I said this again in the last video, because this is important. If you take that course, and at any time you start to feel fearful that you just don't feel comfortable, or something clicks that, this isn't for me, I don't want to do this, then just tell your instructor, stop, and tell your instructor, I changed my mind, I don't want to do this. It's, how you feel about it, because it is dangerous, riding motorcycles is dangerous. And on the video before, I think I had said something about the motorcycle we were riding. I think I said it was a 350, but actually it was a 500. When I was looking online, I looked more at pictures of the 500cc. So it was a 500 that we were riding, which actually I'm actually glad about that, because that's a fairly big motorcycle, at least for me. And it gave me, now that I know I can ride at least that much power, that much, I can handle that much. And my first motorcycle is going to be small. It's not going to be, a big bag or anything like that. And I've had, like I say, over 50 years experience just being a passenger and not a rider. And a lot of guys, I realized this when I was talking to one of my friends a couple of years ago. I don't know how we got in the conversation that we were talking about motorcycles, and I was like, oh, I love motorcycles, they're so cool. And he was like, yeah, they're cool and everything. And so I don't know, I had the impression that he knew how to ride, I guess, from that. I don't know why, but, and then later on we were talking, I think somebody pulled up on a motor, or somehow we got into the conversation again, and I thought he knew how to ride, and I said something to that effect, and he goes, I don't know how to ride. I've never been on a motorcycle ever. I was like, you've never been on a motorcycle? I was like, I thought you had. And he goes, no, what am I going to do? Bury my face in the back of some guy's back with his hair flipping around me? So then I realized that a lot of guys have never, there's probably a lot, although there's probably more male motorcycle riders, there's a lot of guys that start out cold that have no experience whatsoever, not even being a passenger. And when you're a passenger, when you're comfortable being a passenger, that is experience. That is some amount of experience that you have. And then I realized, a lot of guys they've never even sat on a motorcycle, So they're going into the motorcycle MSF course completely cold, not even knowing the feel of the power and what it's like to sit on a motorcycle. They've never even been on one in their entire life. So, that didn't occur to me until, he said something about, or I think I said, haven't you ever ridden on the back? Haven't you been a passenger before? And he made that comment, what am I going to do? Bury my back and my head in their back with the hair? It was hilarious. But then that made me think, okay, a lot of guys have never, ever been on a motorcycle. And they don't even have the experience of being a passenger. And you can gain a lot of experience being a passenger. You can see the controls, you can see, the throttle and the clutch, you know how that works in tandem. You got the feel of it. You know how to seat yourself, how to hang on, how to, because motorcycles don't have a safety belt, a seat belt. You're basically keeping yourself on it just by your ability. Just either, like on a sport bike, you generally have to hang on to the person in front of you, because for passenger, sport bikes can be very dangerous. You can fall off easily on a sport bike. But on a big bagger or something, maybe on a Sportster, or the old Sportsters, not the new ones. They changed what the Sportster looks like. But on like on a small Sportster, I remember I did have to hang on to the person in front of me, but on the big baggers with the bar, you can lean back and you can be comfortable. And to me, I'm very comfortable on a motorcycle in the back. It's being on a motorcycle to me, riding on the back was like one of the most happiest, most comfortable things for me. I loved it. And it kind of reminded me of riding horses. And then I'm not an expert horse rider, but I'm not a beginner. I'm pretty good at riding horses. I'm a pretty decent rider. And it kind of reminds me of that because you do have to straddle it. And a lot of people, when they start the course, they don't realize, straddling a motorcycle, a big one, for a long time, it wears on your body a little bit. You get tired, your legs get tired, your back gets tired. So riding a motorcycle is very physical. You need to be in good shape. You need to, the night before the class, don't go out drinking, don't do something, sleep, get a lot of sleep, rest and relax, because you're going to be so tired, you're going to be exhausted. And if you know how to drive a standard, it'll help you so much. Your mind is already kind of in that mindset with the connection between the gas and the clutch. You know how to control your speed that way. And for people who don't, because you're going to be tasking like crazy on a motorcycle. You're going to be using both hands and both feet. Your head needs to be straight on. You need to, be able to think straight, and you're basically using your whole body when you're riding a motorcycle. And when I want to say that I was about 3 or 4 years old. The earliest that I can remember being on a motorcycle was with my dad. And that's where I got it from, I guess. And then I rode with cousins and friends. And when I was a teenager, there was an arcade. And tons of guys would, be riding their motorcycles there. And we're, can we have a ride? Guys we didn't even know. But we met, you make friends so fast around motorcycle culture. You really do. And be very careful if you do that, because I still see a lot of videos like that on YouTube of young girls, getting on bikes with guys they don't even know. So that's a whole nother thing. But, it was back in the 80s when I did this. So I want to say the time period I grew up was probably a lot safer than what it is now, but still motorcycles are dangerous, and just be careful about that. Be very careful. And Harley Davidson is, like I mentioned, I think that they're really good and fair with women, and I think their course is structured around women, not just men. It's also for women. They're very fair. I have felt no kind of prejudicial treatment or nothing like that, nothing at all. And my instructor even said, women are becoming more and more of a driving force in motorcycle sales. They're starting to cater a lot more towards women. There's tons of gear that they sell for women. They used to not hardly sell. You had to get a man's motorcycle jacket, I think maybe up into the 70s or 80s. It was hard to find, really good fitting women's gear. And now they're making gloves and boots, and, you can buy so much stuff now that is fitted perfectly for women. So the motorcycle culture is becoming, completely, endorsing women riding, and because a lot of us have been passengers for so long, and I find a lot of women that are older, in the 40s and 50s, they've been a passenger for a long time. And then after their kids grow up and they graduate, and the husband and wife, usually they can afford, to buy her motorcycle. So that happens a lot with a lot of married couples. And so you find a lot of women, and that's what my instructor said too. He knows that a lot of women in their 40s and 50s are taking motorcycle courses and are buying motorcycles. So there's a lot of different motorcycles that, you can lower the seat very low. You can get it fitted, and on the motor MSF course, that's one of the biggest things, is make sure your motorcycle fits you. Make sure the seat is adjusted. They can even adjust the levers. You know, make sure that you can reach. For some women, I have man hands. I don't have any problem with that. So I don't have that problem. But in fact, my instructor kept like knocking my knuckles because I was holding on to the brake. My fingers could reach all the way. And I did have maybe some bad habits from watching other people. And I tried to concentrate on that. You know, I tried to do what was right, you know, to be safe. But if you need anything adjusted for any of the women, you know, just tell them the seat's too high, or can you adjust the clutch lever, something like that. Whatever you need, make sure your motorcycle is in, you know, the right condition, form, or whatever you need in order for you to feel comfortable to properly make it through the course. And also remember that this is just a side note. They may be wanting to sell you a bike, you know. I think, you know, they're not going to pass you just to sell you a bike, but because apparently a lot of people fail the course, because I saw tons of videos. So I've gotten sales calls from the dealership since I took the course. I'm getting calls almost every day, but I'm not going to buy one if I buy a Harley Davidson, it's going to be like probably a couple of years before I even do that. I want to get comfortable on a smaller bike and work up to it. I want to practice like I say, in a parking lot. And if you have access to a motorcycle, if you have a partner, somebody, if you can practice before you take the course, try to do that. And you can also do that at home. And as silly as this may sound, you know, if it prepares you, if it helps you mentally, if it makes you less anxious, sit on a bicycle and visually, you know, work out where where the clutch is, roll the throttle. There's a front brake on the right hand. The throttle and the front brake are going to be on the right hand. And kind of using that in tandem, you know, learning to roll the throttle and your brake. Plus the clutch is on the left hand, and you're going to be squeezing that in. Then on your right foot is the back brake, and there's a peg you're going to rest your foot on. The back brake is right, you know, where your toe is, around under the toe, because the pegs are going to be back here. And for people who've never ridden on one, peg is back here. And then the brake is going to be, you know, the peg is towards your heel and the brake is towards your toe. And then on the left side is your kickstand and your shifter and the peg. So you got three things on your left leg. Your kickstand, which should always be up when you're riding. You don't want to have an accident like that. So make sure it's always up. Check that it's always up. And then you have the peg that is, you know, going to be back here, and then the shifter is towards the toe. And kind of get used to bending your ankle, you know, under, because the first gear is going to be down, and then you're going to have neutral, and then it goes up to second, third, fourth, fifth. So kind of get that mentally in your head. In order for me to start off, you know, you're going to, you know, start in first gear, you're going to be pressing it down. And you're going to be pulling the clutch in. And for people who haven't ever used a clutch on a car, that's a little bit, you know, something you can practice at home. Mentally, it's not so much that you're doing it right then, but you're mentally preparing yourself to push that clutch in, or pull the clutch lever in. And then when you're rolling the throttle, you have to be careful. You don't want to just roll it, you know, be thoughtful that, you know, I've seen all these videos, people roll the throttle really fast and they just take off and do an accidental wheelie. You don't want to do that. Be mindful of what you're doing. You know, you're not going to, you know, do you just slam on the gas when you get in your car? Don't do that on a motorcycle. It's very dangerous. So be mindful of what you're doing. And be prepared for, controlling your speed, braking. You're going to use your front brake and your back brake. So you're going to be doing two things with the right side of your body. You're going to be braking, with your hand and with your foot. And that's a little bit of adjustment for people. So you're going to be doing a lot of things with both hands and both feet. So, you have to multitask like crazy on a motorcycle. And a lot of people aren't prepared for that. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm so confused which hand is which, Because I saw some videos of people like, I got them mixed up, and I nearly crashed into the wall or whatever. So you can study in your mind a little bit, this side is the clutch, this side is the throttle. There's two brakes on my right side. If I want to stop, I'm going to be concentrating on the right side, on my hand and my right foot, And if you push the right brake while you're going fast, you're going to flip that motorcycle over. You're going to fall, you're going to crash. So be mindful of that. You don't just jam on the front brake. I mean, if you're taking off and you start to accelerate really fast and then you pull in the brake really fast, that's very dangerous. So don't do that. Just be very, very calm, and just remember, I have two brakes. I have to clutch in, brake. Be very careful about that. And they'll make you use the clutch when you're using the brake in the MSF course. A lot of people don't use the clutch when they're braking in normal riding, which I can't do that. I have to use the clutch. I use it all the time. Some people say you don't need it, you don't need to do that, but I followed what I was taught in the MSF course, and just follow what your instructor says, what your instructor tells you to do. Be safe. Just do whatever they're telling you to do. Because I don't have riding experience, so I'm just telling you the little pointers of just from the beginning to prepare yourself mentally and physically. Don't use this video as how to ride a motorcycle. Absolutely do not. But mentally and physically preparing yourself to take that course, because I saw so many people, so many videos, I failed the course, and they're so discouraged. So that's what this video is. It's not about riding a motorcycle. It's about getting yourself in the mindset to pass that course. So this is not a riding video. Absolutely not. And if you have any health issues, if you have like I have low blood sugar, I have low blood pressure, and I have asthma. I have a little bit of arthritis in my hands. I have a weak back, weak knees. And some of that's due to my age, and some of it is due to like the low blood pressure. I've always had that, and low blood sugar, I've always had issues with that. So if you do have like diabetes or something, you need your insulin to be cold, you might want to talk to them first. For emergency, I don't know if you feel comfortable, this guy told me one time that he had a little refrigerator, like a plug-in refrigerator for his car. And he would put his, on long trips, he put his insulin in that. So I don't know if that may help somebody or not. And I actually saw one at Walmart. They actually have one at Walmart, and I've seen it before. So that's just something you might want to think about, because it's very hot. If you're diabetic, make sure you have your protein snack and you're all set up. Make sure that you can do it on a hot day. If it's hot where you're at, because I know that can be an issue for diabetics. And if you need a break, the instructor that I had just said, if you need a bathroom break, if you need water, if you need something, just go. Don't even ask, just go and do it. Just wave, say I gotta go. And so I had total freedom to do that. If you have an instructor that may be a little stricter, I mean, I can't see them denying you a bathroom break or I need water or something like that. So hopefully you won't have any issues with that. You shouldn't. I mean, if you're riding in hot weather, you absolutely need to be hydrated. So keep that in mind and don't stifle yourself that, oh, I don't want to ask. Don't do that. You know, just ask, say it. And one thing for me, actually, I should have told them this. I was going to do it at the end of class and I forgot. But the course that they have all these lines painted for different exercises that we're doing, and they were getting a little faint. And there's a couple of them that I actually couldn't see until I got right up there. And I'm short, and I don't think a lot of people realize that short people, like, our depth perception is lower. And when you're like 5 or 6 inches taller, you can see things that are farther out than we can. And I realize that because I work around pallets and I stand on the pallets sometimes, and I'm amazed at how, like, just the 4 inches that I'm like, I can't believe y'all can see all this, you know. The perception of, you know, how far and that's also for riding, I think. I mean, I don't know if that's an issue, but well, when you're riding on a motorcycle, I don't know if that comes into play or not, but I realized that from standing on pallets at work, I'm like, y'all can see all this? Like, I'm shocked, you know. But I forgot to tell them that, but that was a kind of an important thing, I thought, because there's a couple of times, you know, we had to stop in a box. You had to put your front wheel in a box and stop completely in the box, and that's on the test. And the lines were really faint, but I made it into the right spot, but I didn't see it until it was like right in front of me. And amazingly, I didn't, you know, push hard on the front brake. You know, I stopped really good, so I was able to do that. And I talked about the gear. You need your helmet. You need usually a long sleeve shirt. If it's really, really hot, I mean, I wouldn't wear a leather jacket, but that's up to you. However you feel comfortable, whatever you feel safe in. But to me, there's no way I could have worn a leather jacket. Absolutely not. And I mean, I would in cooler weather, because when you're going a little bit faster, yeah, it's cool, you know, when you're riding on a bike and it's 40 or 50, 60 degrees, it gets, you know, the temperature drops, so you do feel kind of cold sometimes, even in not really cold weather, but the wind chill just, you know, when you're going a little faster. So something long sleeved and long pants and boots that cover your ankles, and either sunglasses or a visor, a shaded visor, which I had that. And I bought a full face helmet because I couldn't find my half helmet. It's packed up somewhere, and that's the first time I ever wore a full face helmet, and it was so hot. And I tried, I think it's packed away in some storage unit, but I got a really good deal on it. I bought it at like a 30% discount, and it's really pretty blue helmet, and that's the first full face helmet I've ever had. But I'll probably wear that most of the time, I think, if it's not too hot, because you should, to me, I think you should always wear a helmet. And I have actually almost been thrown off a motorcycle before. Like I say, there's no seat belts. Somebody came to an emergency stop, and thankfully I had enough experience, you know, being a passenger, and I lurched forward, and I'm lucky that I didn't get thrown off. But I've had that experience, and to me, I'll always wear a helmet. I always will. I don't care how hot it is. I'm always going to. That's me. And the weight of the bike, it's heavy. The controls, like I said, the clutch, you know, your brake, your blinkers are... Sometimes some of the controls are different on different bikes, and the ignition, the key, things like that can be in different spots. So I'm not really going to go over that because I don't want to confuse people. Because your starter button, your key, things like that may be in a different place. But your clutch is always on this side, throttle's on this side. You know, front brake, back brake are always going to be on the right side. So those things are standard. But the other little controls, I'm not even going to mention them because they can be in different places. And the first thing that you're going to do and actually moving the motorcycle, you're going to have to duck walk that motorcycle. And the weight is really heavy. Or for most of us, it will be. There may be big guys in there. They're 6'4", 6'5". Oh, that's nothing to me. So that's nothing to you. Okay. But for, somebody who's 5'3", not 5'2", one of the guys with me, he was maybe about a half an inch. He was almost the same size as me. Almost. I wouldn't say he was an inch shorter, but he was a little bit shorter than me. And it was, walking it, when you're doing the duck walk, you get to feel the weight of the motorcycle. This is before you start it. And you have to kind of walk it. And it's important that you do that because you've got to back a motorcycle up sometimes. And you have to learn how to manage that weight. And then one of the biggest things is the friction zone. A lot of people, this is something that you actually need a lot of work on it. I need work on it. I mean, your clutch, you can let it out to a certain point, and when a motorcycle takes off, when they're rolling the throttle, like when you're a passenger, you can feel, and your body, you get so used to it, it's fixing to take off. Especially if you ride with the same person or you're used to it, the way that they ride. You're rolling the clutch, and, you're rolling the throttle, and the clutch, they're starting to let the clutch out. And then it hits a certain point where the motorcycle starts to roll, starts to actually take off in the gas with the clutch. Because you can let off the clutch a little bit and roll the throttle, and you're really not moving. But once you hit a certain point from letting the clutch out, that's the friction zone. And that's the point where a motorcycle takes off. And like I say, being a passenger, you prepare yourself. Oh, we're fixing to go. And so a lot of people they don't understand that, but that's kind of something that it really needs to be worked on. And you only have 2 days in a MSF course to get all this information. So mentally prepare yourself, how am I going to do this? You're going to be rolling the clutch and, what I keep saying, rolling the throttle, and you're going to let the clutch out slowly. Don't just pop it. If you let it completely drop the clutch, you're going to, pop the gear. You're going to, it's, your motorcycle's going to lurch forward. So you have to learn the clutch, throttle control and the clutch. And the front brake is, extremely dangerous if you're going high speed and you just do that. You can wreck. So get in the mindset. I have 2 brakes. I need to use both brakes. And they're going to tell you that. For the MSF course, you're going to have to learn to use both brakes. And that was a little bit of a feat for me, because at first, I was using just the first brake because I had a little bit of, trying to multitask my foot and my front brake and the throttle at the same time and not tip over. You're trying to do all this in your mind. So you might want to do some exercises. Don't do too much. Don't overthink it. But just kind of get in a comfortable zone of, there's 2 brakes on this side. The clutch is on this side, and just kind of get used to that. Don't overthink it. Don't be, getting anxious. There's so much I got to do, because you're going to do different exercises and you're going to ease into it. They don't just put you out there and you just do everything at once and just go. It's 2 days, but it is compressed. So I'm not trying to poop on your bubble and get you all anxious and get you worried. It's just this video, I'm trying to make it that I saw a lot of people that on those fails, they're like, I did not know that. I didn't have any clue, or I didn't know this, and it was so hard and so different, I didn't know what I was doing. And then they were trying to hurry us into the next thing. They shouldn't be hurrying you, but they do ask. Our instructor was like, he would teach one thing, he would say, is there anybody else that, do you have it? Do you got it? Do you feel comfortable going to the next thing? And we were all pretty comfortable at it. We didn't really have any issues. I think the other inexperienced guy, he did a couple of times need, a little bit more time. And I was already kind of used to the clutch and the friction zone and all that. pretty used to that. It was just, for me, my biggest issue was probably the weight. It just freaked me out because I know that they're heavy, but when you actually get on it, and the gas tank, I swear, it was like, the gas tank was like 1.5 feet across, not wide, I mean across this way. And when I sat on it, I've always been in the back, and I sat on it, I was like, this is huge, So, and it was literally like straddling a horse. To me, the width of the motorcycle, to me, was almost as big as a horse, I would say, for me. But I have short legs, I'm a small person, and that's what it was like for me. Your experience may be different, it may be thin for you. If you're a really tall, long-legged guy, then it's not going to be that big of an issue. It's not going to, be so daunting, I guess you can say. But the ignition panel, all the things on the, like the tachometer, the speedometer, they're going to be up here in the front. You've got your key, your ignition, stuff like that. I'm not going to go really into that because I don't know what kind of motorcycle you're going to be on. And like we had the 500, street, the Harley Davidsons, because I went through the Harley Davidson course and I was really satisfied with them. It was such a good experience, even though, I dropped my bike twice, and I think I stalled out maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times. I can't even remember. Not a whole lot. And you're going to make mistakes. So don't think, oh, I'm so horrible, and get discouraged and walk off because of that. Don't do it because of that. Only leave if you don't think that that's for you. If you decide, this is too dangerous, or I'm not comfortable, then if you know your limit and you think it's past your limit and you can't do it, that's when you leave. But don't do it because you're embarrassed, or you make a mistake, or you drop your bike. Because it was embarrassing when I dropped my bike. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this in front of everybody, But the people I was with, they were super supportive, and my instructor was great. Just couldn't ask for anybody better. And don't take it so serious. I mean, be serious because it's, important, but, kind of get comfortable with the people you're with and talk a little bit and, have a good time. And I would say maybe you could, like, some of the stuff that I talked about, the clutch and the throttle and this, look up things on YouTube, look at a few videos and get used to, watch how they roll the throttle, watch how they do the clutch, but you're going to be taught a specific way when you take the MSF course. I'm saying just be comfortable with what side of the body, because, you got to split your brain in half. You're going to be multitasking with, both sides of your body, feet and hands. And you got to think, you got to use your eyes, you got to turn your head, lean your body. You have to use your whole body, your mind and your body, your whole mind, your whole body. Okay, that's about all that I'm going to talk about. And again, this is not a riding video. This is not an instructional video, how to ride at all. Because I have not ridden other than the MSF course and when I wiped out on the dirt bike. So don't take this as a riding video. Please don't. Just take it as more of a mental preparation for that course. Because I saw a lot of discouragement. A lot of people, I saw some tears and some people upset, And I thought, that's horrible that, because I've wanted to do this so long, all my life. And I've put it off because of finances or because of time or mostly because of the cost, the finances. And then I did kind of get a little bit... not scared, but more like, well, it is dangerous, and it's a huge expenditure, I'm going to put all this money into and then pay the insurance on, and got to pay for a car and pay for, insurance for 2 things. And so I think that kind of, in that way, I did get discouraged a little bit because it just wasn't in my budget. And then when there's times when I think I actually could have done this, that I just didn't think about it. I just put it out of my mind. I put it out of my mind. Not that I didn't want to do it, but I put it so out of my mind. I was like, I'm never going to achieve that. But then the last few years, and I love watching motorcycle content on YouTube. I watch it for years and years and years. And then I was getting, like, why am I putting this off? I still want to do it. I still have that feeling. I thought, and before it's too late, before I lose my cognitive skills, my physicality, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. And I've had people, like my work partner, she's like, you're going to die. You're gonna very negative, because she doesn't know, she doesn't have the taste for it, so. And other people, my mom, she did not want me to get a motorcycle at all. Told me real negatively, how dangerous it was. And I think people will do that. People, because it is dangerous, and you do have to think about that. You do have to think about that. So, okay, that's the end of this video. It's a very long video. Sorry. I just wanted to throw in some extra things. When I saw those videos this morning, and I was like, I felt really like, if they were a little bit more prepared, maybe mentally, some of those people would have passed. I know they would have passed the first time. Because if I can do it, other people can do it. Definitely other people can do it. Okay, thank you all. Thank you for watching my videos. I hope this helps somebody. And thank you, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you. Thank you so much.